Okay, so today we are going to look at the friction force. Now, let's talk about how the friction comes in the first place. Friction comes because of two things. One, if it is a rough surface, it will be interlocking mechanism which you can see here between two surface. A jagged teeth like things will protrude and kind of overlap each other, interlocking. Another one is called intermolecular bonding. That thing will happen if we have two metals, very smooth metals, so that the atoms or molecules can come close to each other, creating this intermolecular bonding. For that, we need a very smooth surface so that they can be very close to each other in the size of metallic bonding size. Okay, now we will talk about now how to get the friction force. When we say force, we get two things: direction and magnitude. The direction we can get of friction by its definition. The friction force always opposes relative motion. Relative motion, not motion. Let me give you an example here. There's a box and it is tends to move downward on an inclined plane. Now this box will automatically will get the friction force upward. Now let's look at the other box which is on the bigger box here, a block. Now the blocks are moving in same direction. As you can see, one is moving with the 4 meter per second upper one, and the lower one is moving with 6 meter per second. You may think that the friction force on both of them will be backward because you think that the friction always opposes motion, but it's a relative motion. The lower block is moving much faster, so friction force will be backward for the lower block, and for the upper block it will be forward. Now, after this, we will talk the most important point, which is the magnitude of friction force. The friction force come into two shapes. Two types. This is gonna be static friction and the kinetic friction. Now let's talk about their magnitude. Their magnitude depends on two things alone. One is the nature of surface, meaning the coefficient of friction, which is represented by a Greek word called mu, and the normal force it is getting on that surface. So one misconception that people have, that this depends on the area. No, in case of IIT syllabus, it's stated that the friction here is not depending on area. Now moving on, we will talk about the kinetic friction in the